Hey everyone, so in this video we're going to take a look at the basics of making a tower defense game like Rogue Tower. Now, just to be clear, that game is very intricate, so despite its very basic graphics, that there's quite a bit of strategy and quite a bit of technical aspects to it. Like for instance, every single tower you can designate what its target is. Like will it target the enemy that's furthest away, closest away, lowest HP, most HP, that kind of thing. So we're not going to get into any of that in this video. What we're going to do in this one is just going to be the basics. You're going to have the environment, you're going to have enemies spawn, they're going to travel along a fixed path, and they're going to target the base. So the very basics of a tower defense. If this video does well enough, then I'll certainly do follow-ups. The second one would be the placement of towers to defend the base. And then at that point, it's really just kind of minutia as far as, like I said, being able to set specific targets with the towers, upgrading the towers, and things like that. So let's get started. So first I'm going to, this is just a new scene. I've already positioned the camera. I'm pretty sure you guys don't need to see me do that. I've also scaled a few things down. Like you can see, this is 0.3. I'm not going to review all that because depending on what assets you guys use, you might not even have to do that stuff. So just want to separate what I had to do specifically for the assets that I used versus what you would do for your assets. So we're going to take this, which I made in Asset Forge. You can use whatever you want. There's nothing special about this. Just look at it. It's not special. And so this was made in Asset Forge. The reason why I used Asset Forge is because, if I recall correctly, it's built upon Unity. So one block in Asset Forge is equal to one block in Unity. So it makes it very easy for placement and things like that. As it turned out in this game, it's not going to really matter that much, but you know, it's the habit of doing that approach. So let's take our first thing we're going to do, we're going to break this up because for whatever reason, when I put the prefab into the scene, it adds this additional empty object and it always confuses me. It's almost never needed. I've occasionally seen a reason for it, but we're just going to get rid of that empty object. Now I'm going to just rotate this because I want the enemies to spawn over here and then travel to here. I want them to travel right to left. Okay, so let's see how that looks now with the camera. That's fine. Okay, so second thing, we're going to put the base in here. And again, like I said, I already scaled it down, so it should just about fit. Just rotate this around. Okay, so now what we need to use the nav mesh. And what that's going to do is it's going to create paths for the enemy or whatever you want to travel along. And it's actually very easy to use. So first of all, let's get the tab for that. So Window, AI, Navigation. And then what we're going to do is we're going to click on Bake. And when you do this, you're going to see like a blue area, and that's going to show you the walkable path. So we're going to click on Bake. Oops, sorry, my apologies. I forgot a step. We have to select this as static navigation. So if you select your environment and whatever you want the enemy in this case to walk on, you would choose static in navigation static. And now we'll go back to navigation and we do bake. And you're going to notice something. See these areas? These are the walkable areas. There's a problem. They can walk on top of here, but there's no blue area here for them to walk on. That's because of the agent radius. The radius is too big versus these path sides. So what you'd want to do is you'd want to drop this to, like, in this case, to like a 0.2. So we'll clear, bake, and there you go. Now you have this path here. They'll kind of slow down around the corners, but that isn't too bad. Things tend to have to slow down around corners unless you're like in a race car. So So now you already have your path, and the enemy will almost already walk on this with just one more thing. So we have our soldier. So let's open that prefab. I do want to call out that there's already animations attached. This this asset came with these animations, so I didn't do anything special here. All I did was just chose that I wanted this to be the default, and you do that just by right-clicking and choosing Set as Layer Default State. And so that's why it's orange. That's the default state. So that means when it gets spawned, that is what it's going to go into automatically, unless you have like a script overriding that. So this character needs NavMesh agent. So add component, navigation, NavMesh agent. We'll raise up the base offset, so like -0.1, just to make sure there isn't an issue with the bottom of the character and the ground. We're not going to really see its feet anyways because of how high up the camera is, so you don't have to worry about it causing an issue with clipping or anything like that. You wouldn't even notice. But I like to do that just to make sure that it's not getting pushed off of the ground, because sometimes I've seen characters floating, and that's why, because you're having a collision between the nav mesh agent and the nav mesh of the ground. We definitely want to reduce acceleration. We'll bring that down to about a 4, and we'll reduce the speed to about a 2. This, particularly the speed, is what would be one of the most common settings for difficulty and for the different types of enemies, because obviously different enemies will have different speeds. So you'd eventually use a script to change speed depending on the enemy. Maybe you also have a difficulty setting, and that if it's an easier difficulty, it would be a slow speed, harder difficulty, higher speed. So keep in mind that this is one of the key ways to affect difficulty, as well as the total amount of enemies spawning, as well as how much HP they have and that kind of thing. Okay, so we have the NavMesh agent. We made a few tweaks. Angular speed is how quickly it can rotate, so we'll just leave that. That's not a big deal in this one. We're going to need our script, so enemy con, we'll just take a look at that. And if you want to reference the NavMesh agent, you need to add this using UnityEngine.ai. If you recall, we went up to Window and we went to the AI menu. So again, you need to reiterate here, you need to use this namespace. And then all we're saying is in the update section, get component NavMesh agent. We're setting the destination, and it's going to be here. Now, one of the reasons why I'm doing this in the update section is that, say you have a moving target, well, you'd want it to keep changing. I believe in that case, if the target is moving, you wouldn't have to keep updating its destination. But for now, it's static, so we can just put in the position. So, and that's typical coordinates X, Y, Z. Let's check to see if that actually checks out. So, yeah, close enough. So get component nav mesh destination. The destination is that position. You can also create a variable and reference the object, and then pull the position out of that object. But we'll just use it like this. Again, this is very simple because its location isn't moving. Okay, so haven't forgotten anything, I think that will work at the moment. I'm just going to drag and drop him into the scene so you can watch him walk so you know that it works. And then I'll add the spawner, and then I think that'll be about it for the first video. And then the second video, we'll deal with placements of towers. So let's just take him, put him there. And I think that should do it. There you go. The acceleration is too fast. See how he goes around the corner, then really speeds up? I mean, he's being cautious. That's not actually what's happening. There you go. And it's that easy to have an enemy target a static location. Now, let's just tweak a couple things. So we said, all right, so let's go to acceleration 2. And that speed was kind of fast when he was maxed out. So let's go to like 1.5. That might not sound like a big difference, but going from 2 to 1.5, you just reduced it by 25%. So keep in mind, it's not just the absolute numbers, it's the percent change. And again, speed is going to be based on um, the difficulty as well as the object. Okay. Let's see if there's. Oh yeah, we said we're going to add the spawner too. I don't think I fixed the prefab. I think I did that to that individual one. So let's see, speed 1.5, acceleration 2. So speed 1.5, acceleration 2. Now, one thing that you can do if you make that mistake like I just did, you can take the object and there will be an option up here that basically says, do you want to cascade the changes to the prefab? I could have just done that, but be very, very careful because if you are going to have different settings for different scenes, you may break other scenes. That's why I usually don't like to use that feature, but just so you know it's there. Okay, so what we need now, we'll do game object and we'll just call this GM for game master. And we'll put enemy, nope, spawner. So what you see here is that there's an array. And so if you have 20 different enemies that are going to be spawned, you'd have 20 different entries into the array. So let's just look at that script. And really all it is public transform. The brackets indicate that it's an array and then the name that you want for it, enemy object. And now you're just going to have the enemy spawn again and again and again. So one of the ways that you can handle this is IEnumerator. And then you could do something like, I don't want to reuse the name. I didn't call enemy spawn, so let's call this enemy wave. And maybe you do a different coroutine for each wave, but since this is introductory, we'll just do one. So enemy wave, and we will do yield, return, new. And this is really the only thing that you care about this line is wait 4 seconds. And we'll say we'll just wait like 2 seconds. You can do fractions. You can do 1.5, 1.1, whatever. And then instantiate enemy object. But since it is an array, we have to say which one. It's position 0. Now, I normally say that there are 3 arguments. What is being instantiated, where it's being instantiated, and the rotation. But if you are going to use the rotation and the position of the object that you're instantiating, then you don't have to include those and that it is presumed. Its rotation doesn't matter, it's going to rotate anyways. So here's our GM object. We're going to change this to a 1. And we're just going to take him and put him there. And we'll go back here because I forgot to do this thing that I always forget to do. Caught it this time though. Start coroutine. IEnumerated doesn't just automatically run on its own. You have to specifically call it. Anyway, wave. And the other thing I forgot is this would only instantiate 1. You now want to take this and put it here. So it's recursive, I believe is the word I'm looking for. So in other words, it runs through and then says, do it again. Runs through, do it again. So you're saying do it when the scene when the scene starts, and then do it again and again and again. So it keeps pointing back to itself. If I haven't forgotten anything, this will work. Whoops, why did he appear over there? Must have the position wrong. Let's see. Oh yeah, position's wrong. So I had put it like right there, right? So let's see what that position is. So that position is like, so positive 10, negative 2. So positive 10, negative 2, and it was like 0.4 above the ground, I believe. There you go. And that's the basics of having an enemy wave. So it's really not that hard. It's really like a lot of games coming up with the themes, the minutia. Um, Certainly nothing against the graphics of Rogue Tower. It has like a basic voxel appearance to it. And there's nothing wrong with that. It seems that their emphasis really is on the customization, the fact that you have all these different towers that you can choose from, and that you can upgrade the towers and you can set their priorities. So there's an awful lot of micromanagement there. So I think that's about where we will end this first video. I try to break these up into basic topics. So the next one will be the actual towers and targeting the enemy. Obviously, you'd also do something like when the enemy collides with this, have it not self-destruct, but the object gets destroyed, and then you minus like 1 point from the hit points of that. But again, doing like hit points is like very end when you're doing game balance. The only reason why you do it sooner than that is just to test the functionality of collision, destruction, and that kind of thing. Okay, so very basic looking, but now you've seen how to do a nav mesh. It's really that easy. So, okay, so I hope you found this interesting. If you want to see more, please leave a comment, please leave a like. Um, the trouble with some of these videos is that I'll do them, there's not much interest, and then like a year later, someone will want to see a follow-up then long since I've stopped working on it. So hopefully it does well. But I'll probably do at least one more video. Anyways, so please enjoy the rest of your day.